In 1960, Claes Oldenburg lived on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, then a neighborhood of dilapidated buildings and garbage-strewn sidewalks. It inspired him to create a body of work called The Street.
It grows out of the surroundings. My focus was not on abstraction that had dominated the scene. We really looked at the street and our surroundings in a theatrical way.
Curator Ann Temkin.
All of the works were made of cardboard. They were crumpled, they were torn, they were cut. Even the way that the materials were painted with black paint around the edges made it feel like they had been charred, left over from having been in a fire.
Not having a great deal of money, I found it useful to use the material of the street as I found it. There was always a lot of cardboard around in New York City, and in those days the garbage bags were made of burlap, and you could sort of swipe one and take it home and turn it into a figure.
The street sculptures were part of what Oldenburg called his metamorphic material, works he created after deciding to give up traditional figure painting.
The figures and the objects were part of a vision of the Lower East Side. So they were not realistic. They were extremely altered figures, and they were based on children's drawings and drawings I had seen on the streets, and just my fantasy of drawing as if I had never drawn before. The figures were suspended from the ceiling, which, if you looked at a street scene and instead of having the people attached to the ground, you had them floating. That's the effect that you had. And that also made it possible for them to move slightly and change positions. So it was a kind of imitation of life.